move the mouse. That's right. Just a little bit. Okay. This is the lesson. Just finished this lesson, and talking about drawing less. Obviously, in more detail than I'm going to do now, because we have the reference I could relate to and talk about. But yeah, this thing of drawing less. Let me just not fiddle with that. I might fix that up later, but for now, I'm going to leave it. This thing, where do I put this? I've got so many in transit, so to speak, because they kind of don't always go directly to the to the folders, or to be sprayed at least. There's a transit period. Somebody said the other day, you put the drawings down, leave them for a week, and come back to them. It's not quite like that, but it might be. Like the one I was showing you, I might come back to that later today just to tweak things. So this drawing less thing, and drawing, when the thrust of the lesson really was the reason why you would draw less, I suppose. Let me just fix this. I've just been taking some pictures of the where is it? There we go. Of the drawings out the folder of that. The one I've just done with the 160 images in it. Remember, this is critical to me, that my eye line is in the middle of the paper, so I don't get any distortion top and bottom. This is what I've just been doing. I know straight away when I'm not looking direct. I can, if I raise the stool up a bit, I'm not looking in the middle of it, so I have to move the board if it will move any higher. So I'm just, my eye level is right in the middle. It's just so I get things in the right place. Basically, it's not practical stuff. It's not some kind of known magic or knowledge, and I'll gladly share it with anybody. Make sure you stand in the middle, sit in the middle of your paper. So when you're freehand, anyway, when you're working over it, it's a bit of a different matter. But anyway, so this thing about I'm going to draw this lady, which is the same lady you've just seen for the lesson, from a different angle, obviously, and quite contrasting in that there's very few shapes. There's big black shapes. It's not as, and it's slightly out of focus, which is always a good thing. For me, it's always a good thing. Stops me from concentrating too much on the detail. But the decision on what to draw and what not to draw thing is invariably for me about the. Let me just get this in kind of a placement thing. I don't know whether or not it's going to be any more than down here. So it's always this, what moves me to draw it kind of thing for me, and that's the focus. So what is it that makes me want to draw this? What focuses my attention, if you like, and then that is the thing that I will then focus on drawing, and not anything else. Everything else becomes irrelevant. We're saying that about some of the Sargent type charcoals, where he would indicate the veil or the hat or the hair with 3 or 4 marks, because he knows that, and they're just in the right direction, because he knows that's not really important, that bit. I'm focusing only on that. So drawing less meant for him just drawing what was important, the bits that matter. And how you decide what matters is basically what is it that attracted you to want to capture this thing in the first place. That's what that's how you filter out what doesn't matter. What doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, if you know what I mean. And the idea that it should be everything that you draw. You should draw everything, and by doing that in some way you're a great artist, or you're technically more proficient. But it's really, it's one of those things. And I remember they used to say that about illustration. It's what you didn't draw that mattered. What you didn't. You can see already. Look, because like it's crazy. It's like focusing on the bits that matter. It's almost like becomes a shorthand for what it is. The only thing you've got to be careful of is if that if you lose that spontaneous response stuff. That's the only thing that I'd be wary of. It's the reason why I stop more often than not, and things aren't quite right, like on the lesson just now, is because of the I'd rather have that spontaneous component to it, the marks, than have it actually perfectly right. It's homemade charcoal, by the way, again. So it's a different thing. You know, when I did the where is that guy? Was it yesterday I did that? But when I did that, that was homemade, right? That was the homemade charcoal. It's a completely different. You can see how it's doing now, and I think it's probably because the value range is different to the shop bought stuff. The value range is narrower with the shop bought, so it's going to go from dark to light very quickly, and consequently, you end up with charcoals that are very, very, almost like monochrome, and you have to work hard to get the in betweens, and which is why people end up doing the blending thing or getting the stumps out of Swaby, because you have to work hard to get with bought charcoal to get that range in. With the homemade stuff, it doesn't have that immediacy. I mean, there is a without any effort, it does make marks, but it doesn't jump straight to black. It makes a mark, and you end up where there are layers, if you like, because of the whether it be a method of application, a kind of a random hatch type of thing, or whether it be just the way that you see that just without me, if it was the shop bought stuff, I'd have to be more precise in the way that I made the marks, and you'd be back down to the understanding about the attack velocity and pressure stuff. I don't really need to think too much about that kind of thing, or consider my mark making in that respect. It kind of does those things, and I suppose that's one of the attractions to me with homemade charcoal, is that it does a lot of the stuff for me. A lot of the marks that I didn't expect to make, and the way it handles tone and all the rest of it, a lot of that is done as a consequence of the charcoal, and not a deliberate thing. But going back to the drawing less, it's a I don't know if it's a discipline, but there's always it seems when I watch people do it, there's always that varying degrees of needing to draw everything. There are some people that can get away with just drawing the minimum, but nevertheless, it's a kind of focused drawing. So it'll still be detailed, but it'll be only focused on certain things. It might be the hair or the eyes or whatever. And then there are those that will just do everything, because that is the surefire way for it to be right. Is that if it's a perfect replica of a face, then it's a good portrait. And all of that is I don't know, it's tied up with our perception of what portraits should be. They should be an exact copy of a face to a lot of people. The idea that it would not look like them and yet feel like them is completely alien to people. How could that be? How could it be that the face doesn't look like them, but still it feels like them? Why does that work? But that is I would say the starting point. I mean, I think when I started, there were weird things that I did, and I still do it. I don't painting the same thing twice and all that kind of stuff. But there was the other one where I didn't care where the thing landed on the page, you know, and there was all that, you know, it's got to be up this, that, and the other, never bigger than life size and all that. And I didn't do any of that. And but all I did was I'm just going to draw it on there. All I wanted to do was draw. I don't care whether or not we see some of those. In fact, in that 160, I think there's somewhere they bleed off one side. So I didn't care. I didn't care whether or not the hair was too big and it went off the side of the paper. I didn't care. So I also didn't care whether it looked like the person. I just cared about the drawing, and providing I was driven by my desire to connect, you know, to connect and respond to the subject. Providing I was focused in that way, it didn't really matter, you know, and that became the thrust of everything. That became what everything was about, and still is. But what happened was, because I didn't care where it landed on the page, because I didn't care how I applied the charcoal, because I didn't really care whether it looked like somebody or not, my skills accelerated exponentially. It just did, because I took away all those expectations. Oh, it's going to be this good, or it's going to be an exact copy and all that. They just went, and because they went, it somehow released my creativity to become whatever. Like I was saying,